I literally just finished, and I have not seen what it actually looks like from above. So this is going to be my first actual reactions to the entire thing. You guys have been watching me build this for literally an hour. Wow, it did not, it definitely felt like an hour, I can tell you that much. So the entirety of, I'm actually going to turn this way I don't actually spoil it. So the entirety of that whole entire chest full of actual glass drops it all the way down to just this. So much, just so much went into this or whatever. And for those of you actually curious or whatever of how I actually did it or decided to actually put the pieces where it was, literally I just cycled through. I was quite simply, I had the food and everything there. I would place a block and then just cycle without even actually looking. Usually I would just kind of flicker like this, basis placing blocks and stuff like that. Okay, I started actually picking at it in the beginning, like the first section, and then kind of towards the second section, I actually started this little bit of the cycling with actually like, you know, once I would hit, let's say like yellow or whatever, I would make sure I'm like, cool, like, you know, yellow here, then move over yellow there, then yellow there. You guys saw. And then towards the last two sections, I'm gonna be real with you, I just basically kept spamming cycle because it just got it's a lot. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how terrible this looks. Do I have? I do. I also fell off because. Look at this cobbled mess. Oh, wow. Hilariously, it's exactly as I wanted it to be. Those pillars actually came out really, really well. Like, extremely well. I'm very proud of those. So let's talk about, as I kind of glanced around for any creepers or whatever, because it did hit nighttime a few times. So let's actually get down there. Uh-oh. Anyway, let's actually get down here and then talk about, I guess, my thought process as well as just general why I did what I did. Let's start off with the first and foremost thing. I am extremely happy with how it actually turned out. It might seem it's wow, it is such a cobbled mess. Oh my god. Yet I really should probably put feather falling in these. I absolutely love this. This is basically not exactly as I kind of thought. So in a another little personal world for the most part, I actually created or redesigned a church. Like the one from the actual village and everything. I basically redesigned it, and I actually used this as an actual pattern for the roof itself. Now, granted, the church roof that I made was only about, yeah, like, I don't know, 3 by 5 or like something like that. It was decently tiny. It wasn't this scale. So to see this, actually, legitimately, yeah, the roof was probably actually about this opening here, and I missed a block. Eh. Oh, technically I didn't. It's fine. Anyway, yeah, the roof was actually about this size here for the most part, and it's one of those things that you never really notice how just scale just really, really messes with it. I'm really, really liking this. I had to leave that actual spot open up there, mainly considering the factor that I couldn't actually cover it. Yeah, so I actually couldn't continue this on because if I did, then it would just sit on top of the cactus, which is just going to break, and it's a whole entire thing. Technically, I could drop the cactus farm down like 1 block or so, but I felt, let's just leave it open. Doesn't really matter. Are we going to potentially lose some cacti because this is so close where it could actually just pop off and drop right into here? Yeah, probably. But it's also one of those things that the amount that we might actually lose, I'm considering it's just going to be menial enough that I don't really care. And realistically, once we actually start building up here, because this is technically still going to be our second layer, then I'll make sure that this section is fixed this way it's fully blown, like, doing its own thing. Yeah, I'm extremely happy about this, actually. Like I said, it's a cobbled mess, but that's exactly how I like it. Because it's organized chaos. It is kind of the antithesis of what I want, or what I wanted, um, when I originally came up from the bottom, where I'm just like, this, I need the sky, and just seeing all of these colors, it is basically just like a constant rainbow wherever you actually look, however you actually turn for the most part. It's absolutely fantastic. Sure, the bamboo unfortunately can only grow but so high now, as opposed to the entire sky, but realistically, we should probably make it a bamboo farm anyway. So let's talk about the elephants inside the room. Number one, these actual pillars, and number two, the acacia wood. So this actual beam here is basically stripped acacia itself, as well as just using the acacia planks to kind of outline the actual perimeter of the circle itself. Needless to say, I was actually able to do this a lot faster this time around compared to the first time I made this entire circle. And the reason why is because I was basically just following this blueprint from above and just kind of mirroring the entire thing, and it just worked out really, really well. So why did I do the actual acacia? Two reasons. Number one, Danny has actually planted a bunch of acacia for the most part, and I actually really like this wood type. It's really nice. I like the orangey kind of color to it. It's nice. It pops really, really well in comparison. I originally thought about doing dark oak because he does actually have some dark oak over there as well, which I could have actually maybe grabbed. But I decided, yeah, let's go with the acacia because, that orange pop is kind of just really nice. And in contrast to all of the color spam, the orange hilariously is actually the least offensive is the wrong word, but like, just like the least, it blends in a little bit better to it than everything else. It makes a nice border in comparison to like dark oak or something in that sense. Which is the reason why I like doing that. And I decided to do the stripped logs here just because, I don't know, I enjoy this cleaner look as opposed to the actual planks themselves. And I might actually, if I'm feeling so inclined, rip out all of those planks and just run lines of actual just stripped birch to kind of just echo this, as well as just generally make it, I don't know, a better design. And the pillars I knew that I wanted specifically because it's just, well, that's going to happen a few times if we keep walking up there. Maybe get some railings up there or something like that. So the pillars themselves, I knew that I wanted to actually put in. And the main reason because it's just supporting wise, because like, I can't just have something floating. I mean, I technically can, but you know how it is. I didn't want it to just basically floating. I want it to actually look like it was roughly supported, and that's like, it could actually hold its own weight to some extent. Am I going to put in more pillars? Probably. Am I going to put up walls? No. Or at least I don't plan on putting up walls. There might be an actual thin layer of glass around the bottom of it for the most part, so that this way, and we're just going to do the whole torch span. So this way it looks a little bit nicer and kind of cleaner. But as for actual like walls and official walls and stuff like that, I'm not going to actually do that. It's insane, this entire thing. I am currently the only one on the server as well, so I can just imagine my friends logging in tomorrow and just being like, what in the what did you do? Realistically, I'm kind of curious about Danny's reaction just because I am kind of directly over across from him. Granted, he doesn't have the height advantage as Janice does, so Janice is also going to have a better view of this. But I kind of want Danny to give me the exact same expression I gave him when he made the entire cow, which is just why and the what. But I definitely love this. This worked out really, really, really well. And to answer the question that everyone's going to be asking, do I know what's going on top of this? No. No, I don't. Because that gives us a ton more actual space to work with aside from just this. And granted, I haven't even filled in these two areas, which I actually don't even know what I'm going to fill it in with. Wheat. I filled it in with wheat. Needless to say. Editing Panda King is interrupting this episode to tell you that he screwed up again, as it usually works out. So OBS, for some reason, actually I didn't configure it correctly, in which case it actually went from this normal aspect ratio of this to something more like this, where it's actually just cuts off most of the screen itself. Um, Unfortunately, it would take too long to actually re-record the entire thing, and yeah, apologies in advance. Sorry. And yeah, it's grown quite a bit. So has wow, that is very discouraging. All right, peeps. I thought there it is. Yay. Okay. So let's talk. You, me, the cow. So since that last little bit where I actually finished the top of the ceiling itself, a lot has actually happened. Most notably, as you can clearly see, I've gotten full diamond armor, and truth be told, it's actually been a couple of days since I've actually finished this actual roof itself. A lot's changed. Most notably is the fact of, well, we'll talk about those rockets in a second, but let's just go ahead and glance inside of our mystery box. We have wings. Yes, wings. So we're going to go through real quick, and by real quick I mean kind of just spend the rest of the episode for the most part just going on a small little adventure, just basically telling you guys what happened. So the past couple of days for the most part, I wasn't really feeling that great, but I was like, hey, I need to finish this episode because I kind of just started it, did the roof, and then went on hiatus for about half a week or so. And I was like, cool, let me come back and actually record something to basically finish it up. But obviously, because this is a server, stuff doesn't just sit still, you know? Like, everyone starts building a bunch of other stuff, deals are made, people kind of get on, stuff like that. So, since we're here at the actual base itself, let's first start by, well, changing some settings. Number one, I actually installed, yes, I know, it's fine, two, yes, I know, it's fine, resource packs, Minecraft. One of which actually turns armor invisible. Now, this armor itself is only skin deep, and it's only for me personally. It's a resource pack itself. So basically, I just like my normal skin, you know? And I kind of hate what it looks like when it's like, you know, like armor next to it or like over top of it or whatever. It just, I don't know, it just throws me off. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing for the most part. Let's, I guess, go... This is going to be really kind of an awkward thing because there's really no order to these things. So I'm just going to kind of blitzkrieg and just talk about everything that happened all at once for the most part. So we can actually talk about Janice because if you guys remember, there was a giant waterfall right going down here. So once I actually got my wings, I basically told Janice, I'm like, hey, I no longer need that. And she was like, hey, you no longer need that. And she no longer really needed it. So she decided to just open up this shop. Janice has been messing around with the villagers this season. I kind of did it in like the 2 servers ago or whatever. I think Danny's done it. I actually don't think Danny's ever done like the whole... Oh no, he has done the villager thing for a bit. Yeah, but they were kind of like his own personal villagers. I don't know right now. Anyway, although we technically have like, you know, like trade items themselves, we're kind of going on this weird, I don't want to say bartering system, but kind of like an IOU system. Case in point is this barrel here, where you basically take paper, use the anvil itself, and then you write something like this, where it's like Panda King took 1 book, the mending book. And then at that point, she's basically going to collect these and then kind of just come back to you once you actually have something of value to then trade with, for the most part, which is kind of nice, actually. There's also a giant amount of bulk stuff, which is just bulk dirt and stone. I might come back and grab some of these for my mason for the most part. Deep slate, which is really great because Lord knows I don't mind. There's no other way, nice way of actually getting it, but Justin does. So hey, if I can trade Janice for these deep slate, I'm going to probably do it because I really do like this deep slate style. That looks very, very nice. Curse books because reasons. I don't know. It's just twist it like that. And yeah, it's a cute little shop. I actually really, really like it. Like, you know, E5 for the most part. I'm breaking. Like, Janice does the whole, like, you know, zombify thing and, you know, goes crazy and stuff like that. Up here is the way actually out, because she actually extended her house just a tiny bit. And while I'm going to go ahead and sleep, I'm also going to show you guys this time lapse of me making these scarecrows. Normally I would add music to this, but considering the fact that we've got so much stuff to actually cover, I'm just going to kind of talk over top of it, and you guys can kind of watch itself. One thing I really like in Minecraft as a whole, and it's kind of the first thing I noticed, which is from Zombie Cleo's streams. Oh wow, there's a zombie burning over there. From Zombie Cleo streams, is the actual armor stand book. It's something that's kind of my passion and something I really enjoy doing. And more importantly, it's kind of the one thing on this server that I can do that no one else really can, or rather has the effort to do. Mainly because the armor stand book it's I'm not gonna lie, it's tedious. It's extremely tedious. But it's something that I enjoy doing and love. Like, Janice for the most part has had like her little jankety kind of scarecrows themselves, and I was basically like, well, hey, I can actually throw up some armor stands for you, and she was like, sure, why not? And the payment for that was actually a stack of iron as well as a ton of player heads. So another mod that we actually have on the server itself is basically we just have player head drops as well as more mob drops, which basically means when you kill a mob, you actually get the player head themselves, and that's something I need for my armor stand work in order to actually, get things done. And as we can kind of just take a quick gander inside of her head chest as well, she has collected considerably more of them, which is kind of annoying. I also have a ton of them, and I don't, I left it in the other spot. I don't actually have that many that I transferred over, but most of them are inside of the double chest down there. Which is actually what we got. But I can't show you that because I've got to show you a bunch of other stuff. So Janet's actually built this giant structure here, as well as kind of changed the outside of this for the most part. Yeah. So that's kind of Janice's place for the most part. Let's jump to the Nether, because the Nether is really where everything kind of just changed over the course of that week or so. Number one, welcome to the roof of the Nether, people. It's actually really cool. I'll explain where that line goes in 1 second, but first off, let's actually talk about how the Nether works. So if you guys actually remember, all the portals inside of this one small area are kind of interconnected and intertwined. So Danny is the one who actually broke into the Nether, and this is technically his portal. Case in point, if we actually go back through the same portal that we just came out of, we end up inside of Danny's space, because that is technically his portal. And like we mentioned beforehand, last episode, or the episode before that, might have been episode 1. I think it might have been episode 2, actually. Anyway, in one of the episodes, all the portals are kind of really close together, which is why they actually interlock in general. And that's kind of what I have to do, where it's just like if I ever want to go to Danny's, I basically have to, like, go to the Nether, take Janice's portal, go out of Janice's portal, go back in Janice's portal to get to the top of the Nether, go out of this, go back into this, in order to get to Danny's. It's a whole entire thing, which is the reason why I like my wings, because basically I can just fly for free. By the way, while we're taking this small walk, I will be flying in 1 second. I do want to mention that my wings are currently dragon wings. I don't have a cool cape like everyone else, so I just use a resource pack from Vanilla Tweaks to just get dragon wings, which is really kind of nice. They also have the new Allay wings, which look extremely cool. I might have to actually grab that pack as well, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm also going to probably get rid of the HUD that you guys actually see, where it's like, the timer and everything in that sense. I find it's kind of distracting, either while I'm actually doing a time lapse or just in general. It's nice for me personally, but, recording changes your perspective. Side note, desert. So one thing in which case that I was really enjoy it with one of our other servers was just I actually lived in a desert, and just kind of enjoyed just mining sand for like years on end. So I decided to find an actual desert itself by doing the whole Nether trick, where like, you basically just kind of walk for a little bit, because distance is different in the Nether than it is in the overworld, and then just pop the portal and boom. I did have to actually fly for a tiny bit in order to actually find the desert. But it actually worked out. And I really like this desert too, because it actually gives us a bunch of different biomes all at once. So we have the actual savanna biome over there. Once it actually loads in, is the actual terracotta biome. There's a jungle right there. Like, it's really weird how they're all just interconnected. And it's actually pretty fantastic, I'm not gonna really lie. There's a bunny up here. I'm naming him Steve. I might grab a name tag later, but I don't really know. But hopefully that bunny sticks around. In one of our actual servers, we had a someone brought it just randomly happened where a sheep was just like walking around the nether roof, and we're just like, oh, okay, sure, we're just gonna leave that sheep alone, like, because why not? Janice, on the other hand, did actually come in. Side note, that is packed snow with carpet on top. In order so you can actually walk into it and not actually have to sink, and you can still use this. Janice actually came in at that point once Danny actually blew open the roof and saw that there was kind of just no consistency, so she decided to make this tiny little nether hub, and I'm using quotation marks here, in order to just basically encase everything to make it look slightly nicer, and it's kind of nice for the most part. Up there, as you kind of saw, is actually their portal. I'll explain what this hole is in 1 second. But down here is my portal to the actual village itself. Now, normally I would actually jump down and hit the actual snow, but because I got an elytra, I can just coast for the most part. And speaking of coasting, as I almost hit the fire, that hole that you guys saw is utilized for me to actually come up because there's no nice way for me to actually come from that direction. So I basically just kind of broke a hole through the thing and then called it a day. It's fine. Everything is fine. I might make a legitimate entrance exit type deal later on, or I might just leave it the way it is. So this is not the village particularly. It is actually something that I built. One thing I'll explain what that is in a second, but I needed villagers. And I normally decide to actually, whenever I start an adventure, kind of like I mentioned beforehand in last episode, I normally start inside of a village, or at least near one, and then kind of just coexist with the villagers themselves. I didn't do it this time. I decided to start over there with spawn with everyone else, so eventually I just kind of need the whole village just to do the villager thing. I'm not really getting books or anything crazy. I just need it for the emeralds to trade and get some XP and, other small villager stuff. But I know that we needed an actual nether portal because I wanted to connect up, because just walking back and forth between this is like a good, it's a good 2,000 blocks away or whatever from here to Janice's legitimately. So I decided to actually build a nether portal itself, connected it up, and that's kind of what you guys saw inside the nether. Now, we have a mod pack, once again, from Vanilla Tweaks, which allows us to actually use crying obsidian as opposed to normal obsidian. That obsidian block, by the way, I'm going to just kind of leave it there. I don't know, I just like that single block as opposed to the entire thing. Because, I don't know, the entire server as a whole, we all kind of agree that crying obsidian is just straight up better than regular obsidian. And I built this cute little shack. I don't know, I just was thinking about it. Let me actually get on top of this. Flying. I don't know. I was kind of went into my little creative mode. Like I said, I wasn't really feeling that great, so I was just like, all right, well, I still need to be slightly productive. So I went to a little creative mode or whatever, and just kind of threw this together as a small little shack thing. And I kind of dig it for the most part. I didn't really mean to use every single wood type, but I accidentally kind of use every single wood type. Case in point, this is jungle, this is spruce, this is oak. That's jungle right there. These are mangrove trapdoors with shroom lights behind them. The direct ceiling that I'm pointing at right here is all birch. That's all dark oak. Moving on to the village itself. I will talk about that bit in 1 second, but moving on to the village itself. Ignore all of the actual trees. Needed a ton of wood. A ton of wood, and that is for a secret project that is going to happen next episode, so make sure to subscribe so we can see that. Excuse me, Iron Golem. But I'm probably actually going to keep the trees around just because, I don't know, it brings more life to the place. I like it like this. And I've got some mangrove over there, the jungle trees, which I'm just in love with always. It's the panda in me, I swear. Dark oak trees, bamboo, of course, you had to bring it over for the most, you had to. Down here inside this little shack, which is basically kind of what I made my temporary home, is just a nice smelting system. I say nice smelting system. It's a bunch of junk, I'm not going to lie to you, but I do have a bunch of glass. That's also for another project, which I can't talk about. It's a hodgepodge mess, I'm not going to lie to you. Then again, it's also supposed to be a starter kind of villager base to begin with. Inside this chest are bone blocks. Now, remember how we were struggling to get bones for the flower farm, and we were just like, man, what are we gonna do about it? Yeah, Janice figured out what we can actually do about it, and the thing is the fact that on next to her village, she actually found a skeleton spawner. And she was working on the zombie spawner at the time, so she was basically just like, hey, if you want it, you can take it. And I'm just like, sure, why not, bro? So I took it. And I built out of it, not the endless void. There we go, thank you. Small, stupid little stairs or whatever, and bada bing, bada boom, Skelly spawner. Now, this is something that's really simple, really easy to put together. You're just using the standard, like, water to filter them all down to the center, then push them up and down and up and around and blah, 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 blah. One thing about this farm, for the most part, is that although it's extremely efficient, and I do really, really like it, it could technically be better, but I really don't care for it to be better, realistically. I'm using an actual legitimate stone sword just to take out these skeletons. They are not dropping from a significant height, so they're not one-shot at all. But the rates are decent, and I'm fine with it. But this is something that I should have probably recorded when it comes to actual time-lapse. I decided not to, because once again, I just wasn't really feeling it for the most part. As I fly back, let's actually talk about how I got the elytra itself. So, the elytra I actually got from Danny, who went to the end. He needed a bunch of mud, so I decided to actually make a mud farm. So, this mud farm, I don't want to say it's like revolutionary or anything crazy like that, because it really isn't. It's a really simple redstone thing, which is hilarious because, most redstone really isn't as simple. But basically, as I can explain this as simply as I can, the system basically works like this. You have bottles in here, which are basically glass bottles that are empty. This doesn't need to be full, but it does help that it is full. It'll come into play in a second. This observer will have the other observer basically kind of just looking at it and then creating an infinite loop, which will then connect to this redstone line here. There's redstone line here, which will then dispense an actual bottle itself inside of the water stream, and once it does that, it actually becomes a water bottle, which is kind of nice, which then fills up the actual chest itself. The chest will then fill up this dispenser, which shoots out that water bottle into the actual dirt itself. That empty water bottle would then go into this sorting system itself, which then goes down and around and then back, as you guys can kind of see down there, where LWCs drop down, kick around, and then back into the actual system itself, all working out. And this dispenser is actually powered, or rather, powered, by this observer here, once the system actually pushes over. So this way it's not just like an infinite, it's just going to forever just push out, water bottles, because I didn't want that, which is the reason why I designed it like this. This portion here is just a very simple, I'm actually going to put this here. It's just a very simple, loop when it comes to pushing anything. This is something that you see in concrete generators or really big tree farms for the most part, where it'll basically just kind of take something, and then once it gets to the final line, it pushes all of them forward all at once, which is really, really kind of nice for the most part. One thing that I really like about this is the fact that it's all self-contained, and more importantly, it kind of doesn't work unless you're here. Now, granted, this will eventually kind of back up if I'm not careful enough or if I'm not actually pushing it hard enough, but for the most part, it's usually fine. Okay. We moved over the enchanting setup just because I found it annoying to keep running back and forth. This is before the other portal, but even when I had the other portal, it really just... It warrants being over here. We have a very, very tiny sugarcane farm over here. It's just, this is before the actual got the elytra, but I knew I was going to need it because it's Danny. He was going to get one. It's totally, totally fine. Now let's go ahead and talk about the final thing that we're going to be doing today. So this episode is extremely long, and I do apologize for that, but there's a lot for us to catch up on. It didn't help the fact that I was gushing over my roof for 12 minutes, but here we are. So let's talk about our good friend, this random box. So this random box is something that I was actually building itself. So one of the mods that I actually decided to download, which is a client-side mod, which basically means that it's on me, the player, not the server itself, is Lightmatica. So Lightmatica allows you to physically create a build inside of an actual creative world, and then go ahead and I don't know, transfer is the wrong word, but basically make a schematic or a copy of it and then put it into this world. Now, or rather any world for the most part. Now, these are transparent blocks, as you guys can kind of easily see that I'm walking right through them and everything in that sense. And they're not physically here. However, the one cool thing that, I mean, the doors are physically here because I put them in, but one cool thing about Litematica is the fact that I'm not really the builder type. But that building behind us, I built in Lightmatica, or rather, I built in the personal world, and then brought it into this one with Lightmatica. One thing I've always kind of hated when it comes to being a builder, or at least trying to be a builder, is either remembering all the actual things that you need, or how many actual blocks, or where you're actually putting them, and then you have to kind of flicker it back and forth between, like, the creative world that you made it in, and then this world, measuring it, remeasuring it. It was a humongous pain, and it just really turned me off of building as a whole. The Lightmatica actually gives me the option of just bringing this to life inside of this world, which is really, really cool. And one thing that actually does, which I'm actually going to show here, let me see, load. Obviously, you can kind of see I'm just doing a bunch of stuff. The mud farm, for the most part, I brought over because it works with redstone just the same. It's Japanese house here. It gives you an actual list of items that you need, or rather items that are inside of this build as a whole, which is fantastic because basically you don't have to go and question, oh, I need this, or oh, I think I need that, or something like that. You can basically just say, nope, I know 100% what I need. I need exactly this amount. Case in point, exactly 54 smelting tables. There is so. Let me just turn this off. Uh, yeah, all these are smelting tables because I like this design for the floor. Thank God it's just for the entrance. Let me tell you. But with that, fun fact, I don't actually have to be looking at it. It's just easier. And I also made it a single button click in order to turn on and off this schematic because the schematic will stay on as long as you keep it on, or rather as long as the schematic is loaded into your peripheral vision. I don't. It's complicated, the science and math behind it. I don't really question it. I have collected a bunch of resources, and this is something that I was hell bent on keeping you guys informed on because, hey, I know that I wanted to finish this episode with something, and that something is going to be building this house, specifically this villager house, because I'm tired of the villagers just kind of being in that tiny little house, and more importantly, they're wandering about, and that becomes dangerous because mobs and stuff like that. So now, granted, there are a ton of iron golems. Everything's lit up, but I still get nervous when my villagers are kind of just wandering about aimlessly. So I'm going to throw them in here. This very nice Japanese-inspired house. I don't have the actual soul lanterns, but obviously we're inside the biome where I can just go and get that stuff. So I'm going to throw you guys to a time lapse, the last time lapse at the very least, and then I'll come back in to close this out. So, I got the time lapse shorts specifically because of those. Placing those was actually humongous. Actually, let me kill this and this. Placing those was just a humongous pain with Lightmatica for the most part because, as you guys already know, whatever, when placing a stair or whatever, it'll face the direction you're actually facing, and it was getting too awkward when it comes to that, as well as doing this actual trim. And isn't watching a time lapse with someone using Lightmatica like super odd? It's weird, right? Like it's weird. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to keep doing it. I'm definitely going to keep using Lightmatica, but I don't know if I'm actually going to keep using a time-lapse for it. I might keep it for, like, at least Lightmatica stuff, whatever, for something that's, like, small or, like, easy to do, not as detailed as this. But the reason why it looks so kind of weird, like it actually did, so you can kind of see here where it says, like, toggle easy place on and off. Let's not use that, actually. Let's go with this. Oh wow, of course I completely don't have any of them. Awesome. Oh, by the way, underneath here is the staircase itself. It's just completely empty. Like 110% just empty. I might make a small farm in here. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Could I make an iron farm in here? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'll figure that out. But let's turn on the actual schematic itself. So when you actually have easy toggle on, basically what happens is, because you can kind of see at the bottom of my hotbar or whatever, there is no stair block. However, when I push the button, the stair block kind of just comes out of my inventory and then goes straight to the spot itself and then actually places itself. And the same thing goes kind of with these where, let's actually split them up. It'll kind of just auto place itself, and I'm not in creative mode or anything in that sense, as you can kind of see. It's just kind of what it does, which is kind of nice actually. Let me turn that off. The downside, and this off, the downside is the fact that when you do that, you get this kind of weird spotty, blotchy pattern, like you guys kind of saw. There is a way of actually changing that to make it like a layers thing. I'll tweak and mess with it later. I just wanted to get this video out, to be honest, which is the reason why I was just like, all right, you know what, let's run it. We'll fix it in post. Basically, no, gone forever. What I'm doing right now, however, is actually putting in gilded blackstone. Yeah, that looks great. That looks so good. Holy crap. So gilded blackstone you can only get if you actually go to a bastion. I know that Danny's watching this and he's just probably yelling at the top of his lungs. It's like, it's not a bastion, it's a bloody fortress or whatever. I don't know what it's actually called. The thing with the piglins that try to murder you. By I mean actively, factually murder you. So there is one mistakes were made. Anyway, there is one of those near the that's efficiency. There is one of those near the Nether portal itself, and when I originally designed this building itself, I actually hadn't considered this block at all. But now that I have it, I'm just like, oh no, we're totally doing that, because there's this very thin line here of just normal polished blackstone. I'm just like, well, what if we just use this as a semi-flex for the most part, because you can't actually craft this stuff, you can only actually find it. And that is the last of it, unfortunately, but here we are. That being said, it's a nice building. I know it's kind of plain. I tried to do some designs. Oh, that blackstone looks really nice. I tried to do some designs like on the side of it or kind of around it, but I'm just like, you know what? Let's just keep the plain look. I don't know. I dig the plain look. It kind of works. So you come in here. There's going to be a receptionist area, and by receptionist area I mean I'm going to do some armor stand nonsense in here. The torches, ignore all the torches, because originally they're supposed to be like, you know, these soul lanterns, which I will put in before next episode, so don't worry about it. Up here there's actually going to be more soul lanterns themselves going up, but for right now we just have torches. I don't actually know what the lighting situation is going to be in here. I put these lanterns in creative mode as a way of just like, hey, there needs to be light in here because this place is dark. I don't really know. Once I get the villagers in and actually set them up, then I'll figure out the lighting situation and stuff like that. But the cool thing is the fact that this place has a decent amount of lighting just coming in through the windows. Side note, I just love these like shutter kind of designs. I don't remember where I first saw them at, but they're really really cool, and I just love them to death. I might put another kind of like table like there and there, or maybe even put like their stations against that back wall. I don't really know yet. There's railing might be here. There isn't one technically inside the normal schematic, but I might put one here just because the villagers are, villagers. Let's talk about this floor and this ceiling. So I had a decent pattern design when I originally, made this, and then with Lightmatica, when I'm actually putting in the blocks, it doesn't turn and orient. Like sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know, coming together this weird like jazzy pattern for the most part, which sure, I'll take it. It's fine. I like it. It's fine. Anyway, up here is actually supposed to be another like a little soul lantern for the most part. All the soul lanterns will be finished by next episode because that's simple, super simple, but it's not really something that you guys need to stick around for to see. I love this little corner. It's not looking out to anything legitimate. Well, not looking out to anything illegitimate yet. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So I might make this area up here their bedroom slash kind of chill room, and then down here would be the actual like workstations and stuff, and then maybe back upstairs for the bell, because all villagers will actually go towards a bell around like midday-ish. It's just to kind of, they're like, hey, like, work's done, let's go and just like, talk and chill before bed. So I might actually put the bell back upstairs. This way they're actually kind of already up there and stuff like that. This way they're all contained inside this one building, and this one building is decently secure-ish. It's secure from the outside, not so much from the inside, case in point of these actual pressure plates themselves. So the villagers do happen to wander all the way down here. I can't stop them from doing that. It's going to happen. Here we are. Some of them might get stuck in here, but they can also open doors, so it should be fine in general. It's nice. I like it. I will move all the villagers over next episode, but that's going to be it for today's episode. I highly recommend subscribing because next episode we are going to be doing the thing that we've been trying to do literally this entire season. We're going to make a farm, and not just one farm or two farms or even 3 farms. We're going to be making a ton of farms because, yeah, this server needs a ton of farms. Most notably is going to be a creeper farm. But officially now, we're going to go ahead and end the episode, and the only way I can actually end the episode is by saying thank you so much for actually watching. Sorry this one actually is a weird pacing, but a lot of things happened, and I had to tell you all about it. But until next time, my name is Panda King, reminding you all that you're smarter than you think, and stronger than you know.